YouTube, what is going on? Crowder here, and if you guys are new to the channel or don't know who I am, I'm an ex-world champion COD player. I'm now the head coach of Atlanta FaZe. Season 1.5 Reloaded just dropped for Warzone and Black Ops 6 multiplayer. We're here to give you the updated sensitivity settings and just settings in general for PC for this video, because some things did change. You guys need to know about it, so you're up to date and obviously at the best of your best. Let's go. And of course, guys, before we get to the controller settings and the sensitivity settings that I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through the graphic settings again. Some things have changed for me personally since the last video that you guys have watched, so I'm going to update you with those settings really quick, and then of course we'll move on to all the other stuff. And if you guys don't know or you're new to the channel, I am also working with fpshub.org to make sure that I always have the best settings on my PC, and of course the overclocking and everything else. If you guys ever want to go to fpshub.org and make sure you use code Crowder at checkout for anything like a PC optimization or an audio buff or anything of the sort, you can always go to their website and check them out. Personally, I think they are some of the best in the business when it comes to just in general settings for everything that you need with a PC. They're not going to fry your PC out. They're not going to push it to a limit that's unstable, and they've just been really trustworthy, and everybody so far that has gone through them for me has really liked it, so I recommend checking them out. But either way, we're going to be talking about basic settings that I've been working with them as well to make sure my game looks the best but also has the best FPS, and we're going to be starting with graphics right here. So for the graphics settings real quick, we're just going to go through the display. I'm playing at 1440p, 240 hertz refresh rate, so of course we're going to have it at 240, 1440p, and just scroll down here. My NVIDIA reflex low latency is going to be on plus boost. You can see here from the writing, I'm going to move my camera out of the way for a second. It is going to be dependent on whether or not you are CPU bound or GPU bound, and that is going to be whether or not you want to play on plus boost or just on. Most of the time, if you're a little bit confused with that or you just want a general rule, I'd probably keep it on plus boost. But if you want to go down into the nitty gritty of it, of course, you can find out if you're GPU bound or CPU bound and then make your decision from there. And then as I kind of just scroll down here, nothing else changes too much. It's going to be just going through all this just so you guys have it all. And then for quality, this is going to be where some things have changed for me. So I have my graphics preset as custom. Red and resolution, make sure you are at 100. I actually have gotten on the game and it's not been at 100 before. My games looked really bad and I couldn't figure out why for a second. That's usually going to be the reason why. I have dynamic resolution off. Upscaling and sharpening, we're going to have it at fidelity cast, and then we're going to have it at 90. And then as you go down, I'm going to have my VRAM scale target at 80. And if you want the most frames, you can have variable rate shading on. I do recommend this on for, you know, a big portion of those frames. This is going to help you a lot. But I also do think some people don't like the way their game looks with this. I've been on and off with this setting, but right now I'm going to be keeping it on just for the sake of the game and, you know, the FPS and all that. So I definitely recommend trying this on and then seeing how much FPS you get and kind of testing it out and then kind of taking it off to see if you like the game or not on the outsides of your monitor and stuff. But overall, this setting is definitely probably more helpful on. I would probably recommend that. And then I have my texture resolution at normal. You can go all the way to very low. A disclaimer for this video, this is kind of the best of both worlds when I want to make my game actually look pretty good but not really lose too much FPS. Sometimes when you just go all the way low and very low on everything, your game just looks like crap. And some of these settings to make your game just look a little bit better, and you don't have to just make it very low and look like crap. You'll still kind of keep that FPS. So for this texture resolution, we're going to have it normal. Texture filter is going to be at high. Depth of field off. Detail quality normal. Particle resolution, that's important to keep very low. In general, if you just look at this too, particle resolution very low on the left and then particle resolution up here to the right, not only does it hurt your FPS, but you don't want all this clutter on your screen anyway for your visibility. It just makes no sense. So you guys can really see that just having that on very low is good for your FPS and honestly the visuals too. I don't even know why that's a thing, but bullet impacts I have on. You can turn those off if you don't want it. I just like to check my recoil patterns and do all the nerdy stuff when it comes to testing weapons, as you guys know, for loadouts. And then the shader quality is going to be low. On texture demand streaming is going to be minimal. Show more, I have my cache all the way down. And then we're going to keep scrolling through here. I do have my shadow quality very low. You can technically turn the shadows up and be okay. I just don't really care about what my shadows look like. It doesn't bother me too much. And then everything else through here is going to be very, very low or off. A lot of these will actually hurt your FPS a lot if you have some of them on. So this is where you kind of don't really need to bump any of these up to make your game look, because a lot of this will actually hurt your FPS. So keep a lot of those low and off. And now let's switch over to view. We are now over at view, and you're going to see my field of view is going to be at 105. Motion reduction preset is going to be off. Now I play on 105. I am not only playing Warzone right now. I am also playing multiplayer ranked. We will be iridescent in multiplayer ranked. We will be iridescent in Warzone ranked. And I think the best of both worlds for the field of view comes down to 105 for me. If I was only playing Warzone, I would actually probably prefer 110. And if I was only playing multiplayer, I would probably prefer about 102 or 103 or 100. Most of the pro players that play professional Call of Duty in the CDL multiplayer league, they're going to be anywhere from like your 98-ish or like 95-ish at a very low to 105, probably most of the time around that 100 mark. And then anyone that's really, really good at Warzone and only plays Warzone, most likely they're going to be kind of at the 110 to above to 120 for that visual recoil. So if you want less visual recoil and that wider look and you want to feel like you're cracked, especially on Warzone, I'd recommend anything from 110 and higher. And then if you want to play more on the multiplayer, pro player, ranked player settings, I would probably play on 105, 100, 102, or something of that sort. So I have the happy medium right now at 105, and honestly, I love it. So it's been working really well for me, but that's just kind of how the field of view is going to work for you. ADS field of view, I would recommend this unaffected, basically for any game mode that you're playing. If you put it on independent, it's going to cause a lot more visual recoil when you're ADS'd. And just in general, I don't really like visual recoil. It just kind of makes it look kind of clunky and just not that good. You don't really want that, especially if you're not playing COD a lot and you're not an expert. I actually think affected is really helpful. That being said, weapon field of view wide, vehicle field of view wide, motion blur off, weapon motion blur off. Make sure those are off, absolutely. And then the camera movement, we're going to have it 50%. And then inverted flashbang, I actually have that on. I don't like when my screen flashes white. It just bothers me. So I'd rather it just kind of go dark instead of white. That's a complete personal preference, but I have that on. Some of those settings that we just went over have changed from the last time I made a video, but these settings are the big change in Season 1.5 Reloaded, and it is the controller sensitivity settings. Like right now, you can see it says horizontal stick sensitivity is at 1.6. What the hell does that even mean? Are you completely confused? If you are, do not worry. I'm about to give you a lot of information that could probably help you out. First thing that we're going to say is that they announced it on the patch notes of what they're going to be doing to the sensitivity. So you can actually see the values that they announced right here on your screen. And you're going to see that it goes through the old values and it kind of tells you what the new values would be. Now, you can notice that I'm on 1.6 sensitivity, but I used to be on 7.7 if you guys followed through the videos. This is what the game just did to me from default. It went from 7.7 and now I'm on 1.6, but you can see on that chart, it's technically, I think, supposed to be 1.8. Also, someone on Twitter who is very good at testing stuff, and I definitely am going to give them full credit here. You definitely should check out their Twitter and their YouTube if you ever want to have any questions for them. Is going to be Hexsmith, and they did a different kind of test with the sensitivities and the values, and they go way more in depth when it comes to these sensitivities and stuff. So if you kind of want to go down that rabbit hole and do a little bit more research and see where they're going with it, it's not official, but they do testing as well, and it definitely seems like they're probably more correct than the ones that Call of Duty added on their sheet. Does that surprise you that COD kind of gave you some weird information that might not be fully right? Probably not. So right now, I'm going to be playing on 1.6. I'm going to try 1.8 as well. And then I'm going to be really testing these sensitivities through rank play in both multiplayer and Warzone. And we're going to kind of lock in. So right now, I'm going to be trying 1.6, but I would try 1.8 if I were you, and then kind of go from there and see what works best for you. So that is going to be your sensitivity changes right now in a nutshell, everything that we know. And then the more we get to test, especially by Season 2, we will be absolutely dialed. And also, I stream every single day. If you ever have questions, just join me at twitch.tv/Crowder, or I stream on my second channel, which is Crowder Games on YouTube, if you guys ever have questions about stuff like this. So let's get back to business. Aiming input device is going to be controller. I play on tactical, and I do not play flipped. And the reason why is I'm playing on a Crowder PS5 Battle Beaver, and I do not like playing flipped with a controller, PS5 controller. I would play flipped if I was playing on a PS4 controller. So I'm just using the Crowder faceplate right now on the PS5 controller, and I absolutely love it. If you ever want to go to battlebeaver.gg and use the code Crowder, of course, you could get yourself a faceplate too. Going down the list here, we're going to see that the biggest thing that you guys really want to know about is also going to be your dead zones. Now, with this controller and the dead zones that we're rocking, you are going to see that my left stick minimum is going to be 0. I'm going to explain this quickly. I've done this in plenty of videos, but this information never gets old, and there's always going to be new people to this channel. So what a dead zone is going to be, you're going to be focusing on this area of the screen right now. The left stick minimum is going to be your minimum dead zone. So if I were to turn this from 0 and I turn this all the way up to 10, you're going to see that this red ring gets a little bit bigger, and as I lower it, it's going to get smaller. So if I were to hit test dead zone right now and I were to push, in order for me to get the left stick to start actually registering movement, I'd have to go to that red line, and actually it would be a little bit of an input delay with that dead zone being so high, right? Now it defaults at 10. You want to lower it to as much as you can, so you have less input delay and your controller just feels way more responsive, especially for movement or anything else that you're doing. So I like to use mine all the way at 0. Some controllers can't handle that. You'll start moving on your own. So I would recommend starting at 0. If you're getting stick drift, go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until you find your perfect dead zone of what you really, really like. Anything after 5 on a left stick, your controller's kind of flirting with the danger zone of it might be broken. So you definitely have to lock in for that too. But I like to play on 0 for my left stick. It's really good for movement, aim assist activation, and everything that you need. And then your maximum is going to be very, very similar. You can see if I were to turn this maximum to the default, which is going to be 99, you're going to see that the red ring goes away. All that means is that if I were to go kind of push my left stick forward, in order to get to the maximum speed or the maximum, like, you know, pressure that I can put, I'd have to go all the way to the edge of the controller. Now, if you change that left stick maximum to 65 or 60, this is around where controllers can kind of handle it. Some people want to do 85 or 75. Anything really helps, to be honest. You are going to get your strafe speed at maximum speed faster. Your movement, your slides are going to feel a lot less clunky and just overall going to feel much better. So I would recommend trying 65 or 60 or 70 or 75 and go from there. But now, instead of having to go all the way to that edge of the stick to get that maximum speed, and now I only have to go to the 65 mark, it's going to be much faster and just much more responsive and just overall really good for your movement. So that's what dead zones kind of are in a nutshell. And then the right stick is going to be a little bit different because you have to be more precise in your tracking and recoil control with your right stick. So I like to have mine at 3. Depending on the controller, of course, this can be a little bit different. I would recommend the same thing, kind of going to 0, see if you like that. 1, 2, 3, and then you can go 4, 5, maybe even 6 or 7, because again, some people are really heavy-handed and they really grip the controller tight and their movements are super jerky when they're on their right stick. And sometimes, like, you know, the super responsive right stick minimum can actually be hurtful for some aimers as well. So again, you can definitely get away with playing on a higher right stick dead zone if that is your case, but most of the time I would recommend playing anything under 5. That is why I play on 3. Now with the right stick maximum, you do not want to touch that. You don't want to kind of mess with how quickly your right stick's going to adjust to that. It's just going to add confusion and just stupidity to the way you aim, in my opinion. It's just not going to make much sense. It could be a preference. I really don't recommend it. And then your left triggers and your right triggers, I want at 0, or if you want to leave it at 1 just in case, if you just don't want to have any accidental shots. You want these to be as responsive as possible because at the end of the day, Call of Duty is going to be a game of milliseconds. And if you are reacting in a gunfight, you want your left trigger to aim in as fast as possible and you want to shoot your gun as fast as possible. So you want the quickest dead zones for that. And now that we talked sensitivities, the sensitivity multiplier, I'm going to leave all of that at 1. The big thing that you kind of want to make sure you're looking at is the ADS sense multiplier. Basically, whatever your sensitivity is from the hip that we just talked about, you would multiply that from whatever your ADS sensitivity multiplier is. And then that would be your sensitivity when you were aimed down sight. I don't like changing that too much, but of course, if you were playing on 7.7 or now 1.6 or 1.8, you can have that multiplier kind of work that way too, where you can kind of feel a little bit slowed down there. So I would do anything from 0.9 to 0.85 when it comes to an ADS sensitivity multiplier if you want to feel a little bit more locked in. But of course, that is going to be more preference to how you kind of play the game. And then aiming advanced settings, you want to make sure ADS sensitivity transition timing is going to be on instant. It's a lot of the time going to be on gradual. That is going to hurt you a lot. And then you want your aim response curve on dynamic. Now, some people also play on linear. Linear is probably not that bad this year for the first time in COD in a while. I've played on linear. I've tried it. I ended up going back to dynamic, but linear is not a bad shout, and a lot of it's going to be preference. I would recommend trying dynamic and then linear over standard, because standard is starting slow and then speeding up, and I think for a lot of people that is just a little bit too confusing and not going to be helpful. At the end of the day, preference is always going to be the biggest key here, but try dynamic and try linear and see what works for you. And then scrolling down, target aim assist and ADS aim assist is absolutely on. Motion sensor behavior is going to be off. Movement, you want your tactical sprint assist, you want that to be on. Sprint assist delay 0, and then backwards and sideways you want to have on, because in omni movement, being able to go left, right, forwards, backwards with your sliding and your tactical sprint is just going to help you feel a lot more smooth, especially when you're trying to get out of situations and, you know, get cracked on some people, especially if you're playing rank play. So have those on, mantles off, crouch assist off, corner slicing off. Slide to dive behavior. Now you can have hybrid on, which is going to allow you to dive and also slide with 0 input delay. If you play on tap to dive or tap to slide, you will have a delay in your movement. If you do not care about diving, or you just don't think that is your play style, slide only is not a bad play as well. It's going to disable the dive, so you'll never accidentally dive again, but you will have no delay in your slide. So either play on hybrid if you want to have the maximum movement potential, or make sure you are playing on slide only so you do not have any input delay in your slide. Then as we scroll down, you're going to see that we have sprint restore on, slide maintain sprint on, parachute behavior off, mantle cancels reload, that's fine. And then we're going to go to the advanced. I have tactical sprint activation, single tap run, even though I'm playing on tactical sprint assist. So you don't really need this, but just in case your tactical sprint's not activating, instead of having to double click it, you just have to click it once. So this is just nice to have on just in case. And then vehicle advanced settings, nothing too crazy there. And then of course we have one last thing, which is the combat. I'm going to scroll through all of these for you right now. Nothing too crazy in here. If I don't recall differently, the combat advanced settings, you can see this. Prioritize interact is a big one for Warzone. And then sprint cancels reload. You definitely don't want your sprint to cancel reload, so turn that off. And then everything else is pretty easy here. And then scrolling through the rest of this is basically all you need. Now to scroll through the audio settings, this is the audio settings I'm using right now. Right now, I am only just using regular Windows loudness EQ. I do have the Art is War tune right now as well. Those are the two tunes that I use, either loudness EQ or the Art is War tune when I'm playing. The loudness EQ just sounds overall better for my stream. I would say the Art is War tune definitely sounds better overall for the audio in the sense of hearing footsteps a little bit better. They're both pretty good right now since the update. But I would recommend just either regular loudness EQ or just watch Artist War's new video and follow the steps. That will be a free guide. And if you really want to just, have like the free guide to kind of getting that audio. And if you're really bad at stuff like that, which personally I am, Artist War actually did it for me because he's the GOAT. You can also, again, go to fpshub.org, and they have their own audio tune as well, which I've actually heard really, really good reviews about it. But to be honest with you guys, I have actually never used it myself. So that is something I plan on doing in the future, and then, reviewing it there and seeing how I like it too. I would never lie to you guys on this as well. So I have to test that out still. And then scrolling through this, we have advanced headphone mode off. I think this sucks. I think the payment stuff, I paid for it. I actually don't like it at all right now. Unless that changes, I really don't. And then mixes here. We're going to have the master game volume, that dialogue 50, gameplay music and cinematic music off. And then through the rest of this, you're just going to see what we got right there. Nothing too crazy. The hit markers I actually like having on classic, but that's all preference. The last thing that I want to go through is just the interface settings. We're going to scroll through these here just so you can see them. Nothing too crazy. The telemetry settings right here, show more. I just have my FPS counter on, server latency on, and packet loss latency on, or packet loss on. If you ever wanted to do the CPU bound, the GPU bound for the on plus boost, you can go through the times and obviously see what you're bound by. The readability is going to be nothing too crazy. The color customization is really nice just for this. I'm going to be using red enemies again. I used to use pink. I now use red, but I'm using really, really bright blue for my teammates. So that's a really, really big difference between my teammates and the red. Personally, I've been liking that color a lot. And then color filter 2, both 100, 100. We've been doing that for years now, but that's the color settings I've been rocking. And then the big one is going to be gameplay HUD. The HUD bounds I'm going to bring all the way in, and the reason why is that your minimap is going to be up here to the left, and you want to be looking at the center of your screen, look at your minimap to get into information, and then go back to the center of your screen as fast as you can. The farther away it is from the center of the screen, the longer it's going to take for you to get the information. If it takes too long to get that information, Call of Duty is a game of milliseconds. You can end up being dead or just not in time to help your teammates because you were looking at the minimap for too long. So I like bringing it all the way in. Minimap's shape is going to be square. Rotation is going to be on. And then the radar is going to be off. Make sure this is never on. This is going to mess up your minimap terribly. And then scrolling through the rest of this, something that's pretty cool here too is that your crosshairs, you want to be static. If they are not static, they will be bobbing around and it's just going to be really weird. And then you're going to be able to hit show more and you can customize your crosshair color. I have mine at like a kind of a bright blue right now too, which I just really like. This is all preference at the end of the day. You can do whatever you want. And then this is the rest of the stuff that we're rocking right now. This isn't really anything too crazy. So that is going to be it when it comes to in-game settings. I'm going to show you a few more things on your PC and then you can be on your way to enjoying Season 1.5 Reloaded. Hopefully, it's a little bit better than that release that they dropped for us recently. Okay, so now for the NVIDIA control panel settings, I'm just going to scroll through the Manage 3D settings so you can kind of just copy and paste them if you want. This is just what I've been rocking right now after working with FPS Hub. This is just kind of what has made my computer feel really, really good. So we're just going to scroll through these for you right now. Nothing too crazy. Make sure you just see if you want to, mix and match and see that. I definitely trust these guys a lot when it comes to the NVIDIA control panel settings right now. So this is what we're rocking right now on the NVIDIA control panel. Keep scrolling, almost done. Trying to go as slow as I can, but also as fast as I can. Then if you go to your adjust desktop color settings, you're going to see that my digital vibrance is at 70. I actually think 70 makes the game look perfect. So you can play anywhere from 50, 55, 60. It just makes the game a little bit more vibrant without it being too crazy. Again, another preference setting, but I'm playing on 70 right now, and then everything else is going to be pretty normal. And then if you go into your search bar and you put in power and you get to your power settings right here, the power options, make sure that your preferred plan is going to be on ultimate performance. And then if you type in graphics settings and you get to this screen right here, you change graphics settings, you're going to see hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Make sure that is going to be on. And then if you type in game mode into your search bar and you get to your game mode, make sure your game mode is on as well. And yeah, so that's going to wrap it up up when it comes to PC settings and other things that you kind of need to know right now to just have the best experience in Season 1.5 Reloaded. You guys were tweeting me and putting in my Twitch chat that you wanted the updated settings. I was not sure if I was going to do this for the Reloaded drop, but of course with some changes, I wanted to give it to you there. My next move is going to be going through the console stuff and make sure I get all that locked in for you guys probably tomorrow as well. So if you're enjoying these kind of videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's been your boy Crowder, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.